the review of the Mamiya RB67. The RB stands for rotating back and 67 stands for the format that this camera shoots. So you get a negative that's 6 centimeters by 7 centimeters. So I'll begin by the reasons why you would buy a camera like this these days. There is a dilemma that faces digital shooters, that after a while they want something that is bigger, and going digital is very expensive, so film is your option to go bigger than 35mm digital. This camera produces very different images than what you get of your normal full frame camera. One of the aspects of these, some of the aspects of these images are the 3D effect, the very shallow depth of field, and the colors and effects that you get from shooting film versus digital. So this camera is one of the cheapest options that you can get for medium format, and something with this size, 6x7. So first of all, I'll begin by showing you around the camera. So this is a systems camera. It means that it's modular. So you have the lens, the body, the viewfinder, and the film back. So the advantages of these removable film back is that you can have different films. You have different film stocks or film speeds, and you can interchange them during shooting. Same as this waist level viewfinder, you can have either waist level viewfinder or an eye level viewfinder, which gives you more flexibility when you're shooting. So let's start off by the lens. So the lens has different rings. This is the shutter speed. You set your shutter speed through here, and it goes from 1 to 400th of a second. And you have also T setting, and I'll explain that later. You also have the aperture ring, and this is the 90mm. There are a lot of lenses available for this camera. You have 50mm, 60, 90, and 127, 180, 150, and so on. This lens here, the 90mm, is equivalent to roughly 45mm in the 35mm format. This lens is very flexible, and it definitely suits my shooting style, because I like to shoot people in environments, like environmental portraits. So I'd like to be close, a little bit close to the subject, and at the same time include some elements of the background. So you remove the lens by rotating this ring right here, and then you remove the lens. This is the focus ring, or the focus adjustment knob. This camera uses bellows mechanism for focusing, which is very accurate, and it feels really good in the hand. But you should be careful not to puncture the bellows, or when you're buying, you should be aware that you don't get damaged bellows. Secondly, this is the viewfinder, and this is a waist level viewfinder, and you look through here so you can compose the image and focus. This has an extra magnifying glass, which is really good in focusing. It's really accurate and easy to focus. In order to remove the viewfinder, you push this button inwards, and you push this to the side, and then you remove it like so. Under that, you would find the focusing screen, and this is the edge of your of your image if you're shooting in portrait format, and these red lines are the edges of your image if you're shooting in landscape format. Okay. You put it on by pushing the backwards in first, and then push it down, and then push this back. Okay. This button right here, or this switch, is for multiple exposures. So if the red dot is covered, that means it's regular shooting. If it's exposed, that means you're shooting multiple exposures. So you can shoot without advancing this lever. This is the dark slide. You remove that before you start shooting. This is the rewinding lever, which gets the mirror back and rewinds the shutter. This is your shutter button. It's down there and it has a lock. See, if it's the orange means it's locked, so you can't push it. And the white dot means that it's ready to go. This lens is a leaf shutter lens, and this is a PC sync cord for your flash, and it syncs at all speeds, and from 1 second to 400, and you use the X sync setting with all the modern triggers, and you connect it through, or the modern flashes, you connect it through this PC sync port. You rotate the back through these two buttons, you push them in, and then you rotate it, and this indicates that you are in portrait format, and you push it back, rotate it until it clicks, and this is your landscape format. This back you can remove it by pushing this button to the side, which is the lock, and then don't forget your dark slide, it has to be in, otherwise you're gonna expose the film. Now I'll show you how to put film in. So this camera takes 120 film. So first of all, you get the back, you push this lever down so the door opens, and you have this cassette that's removable. So basically you have two rolls. This is the empty spool, this is the spent, so you want this to be your take-up spool. So this is the take-up spool groove. So you push this button right here to remove it, and then push this one and put it top first in, and then the bottom. So when it's in, you release this button, and now it's ready. So you get your film, and then you push this button here, put it from the top, and it's in when you release. So you would want your film to go this way, because it's going to go around all the way, and then you're going to push it through this groove, and then you're going to start pushing, rewinding the lever, and then now you're good. So you just have to be careful so that this arrow would start right here. Once you're there, put it back and close the door and push this in, and now you're ready. So you start rewinding until it stops, and then this is your first frame. To put it back, you have to push the bottom in first and then the top, then you lock it and it locks in place. To start shooting, you remove the dark slide. There is a groove, there is a place here to put it. You look through the viewfinder, you adjust your focus, and then it's rewind, and then you choose your shutter speed, aperture, and then push the shutter. When you're done, the next frame, you rewind the lever and rewind this as well, and you're in the second frame. You repeat, push the shutter, rewind this, rewind the back, and shoot. This camera can do multiple exposures by activating this right here, this switch. So when the red dot is showing, that means you're in multiple exposure. So you take the first shot, rewind this only, adjust, and take the second shot. When you're done, you push this back, rewind. This, when it's red here, that means this frame is exposed. When you rewind, the new frame comes up and it's not red, that means it's not exposed yet. There is a bulb mode on this camera. To activate it, you select the T setting on your lens, and then you hit the shutter and the exposure started. To end the exposure, you see here the shutter, the leaf shutter is open until you touch the lever, then it closes. There is a mirror lockup function in this camera, and you can use this to eliminate any camera shake during an exposure or long exposure. So you activate it by using this switch. You switch it to mirror lockup, and then when you want to shoot, you click this button, and then your mirror is up, but the shutter is closed. So you connect the cable to this, and then you start your exposure by pushing this, and the exposure is on. And then when you want to end the exposure, you touch this lever and it ends the exposure. There is a Polaroid back like I have here, and this back, you open it through here, push this lever, and then it opens. You use Fujifilm FP100C, which is a color film. It's a Polaroid film. You put it through here, and then you close it, and then once you do the exposure, you pull the film through here, and then you have a square format of this size of the image. The Polaroid film is a little bit larger, so you have two black lines here and here. The film has really good resolution and colors, but the dynamic range is very narrow, so you have to be very careful with your exposure. I use this camera with flashes as well, so I set up my flash, and then I use my digital camera to get the shot that I want, and then I connect the trigger for my digital camera. I have a Godox X1T system for Sony, and then I can connect it through the PC sync port here. And on the lens here, you have to put it on the X setting, and then adjust your settings from the, that's what I do. I adjust it from the digital camera, and I shoot, and it triggers the flash. I also like to carry this camera around, and I take self-portraits with this small device, which is a self-timer or a time trigger. Also there is another viewfinder, which is the eye level viewfinder. So the problem with this viewfinder is that left and right are reversed, so it's a little bit confusing for some people. I use this as well, which corrects for the image, but it's really heavy. It's much heavier than the waist level viewfinder. A problem with the waist level viewfinder is that if you're shooting people, you have to shoot them downwards up, so they're always looking down. There's always this kind of look, so that corrects for that, and you can shoot at eye level. This viewfinder is really good, but it needs magnification. It's not as magnified as the waist level viewfinder. I mainly use it with Portrait 800 or 400 because I want to use 400th of a second shutter speed, and I tend to use mostly 3.8 aperture or 5.6. This camera really shines with an open aperture, and I use 400th of a second to eliminate kind of the shake, because I also use it handheld. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you have this camera, tell me your experience. And thank you very much for watching, and have fun shooting it.